I know. Some of you are like, man, they just got to make a decision at this point. I know, but I can't control that. All I can do is try to welcome on our local leaders and local officials and ask them what their thoughts are on the possibility of a team like the Royals or the Chiefs moving into their community. And that is where we are happy to welcome on and say good morning to the mayor of Overland Park. He is Curt Skoog, joining us on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio, and always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Mr. Mayor, good morning. Thank you for being here. And let's just start off with that topic here in the conversation. Where are you at on the possibility of the Royals moving into your backyard and your city as they explore possibilities around the metro, including Overland Park?
Well, good morning, Pete. Thank you for the invitation to come on, especially on an exciting sports day like we're having today, another Monday night football game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And also during election time, as we're in advance voting in the state of Kansas. And I'm up for re-election this year. Let's talk about professional sports. So most listeners, I think, will remember that the Kansas legislature created legislation called Special Star Bonds, where the state would fund the building of either a baseball stadium or a football stadium across the state of Kansas. So where we are, as far as I know at this point, is that the state of Kansas is negotiating with the teams to see if they can reach a financial agreement that would allow them to move to Kansas. Now, I always like to start this conversation, Pete, that I'm a believer in downtown baseball. But if the state of Missouri can't figure out a way to keep the baseball team in the Kansas City metropolitan area, I don't want them to move to Nashville or Salt Lake City. So we're waiting for the state of Kansas to see if they can work out a financial arrangement with the Royals and maybe the Chiefs, and we'll wait to see where that comes out.
So what would you say then? I know, I've heard you say publicly and in various meetings, hey, if this does happen, if the Royals pick, let's say, 119th and all, then the process starts for the city and the people will have their input. But I think it's fair to wonder whether or not that's just going to be a dog and pony show at that point. If the state and the team have come to an agreement on a location and the money's there, can Overland Park as a city really stop it? Is there anything that you could do to prevent it from happening at that point?
Well, under Kansas state law, cities have the power to do planning and zoning within their jurisdiction. So the city of Overland Park, if this were to happen, would take this through our regular development process that we have for all projects that happen. And there would be an opportunity to make sure that the location and everything works for the city of Overland Park. And when I say the city of Overland Park, I mean the residents and businesses of Overland Park.
So the state is not talking to you now. The state is not talking to you now about that, just to be clear.
Well, the key is that the process is the same no matter what happens. So the state of Kansas, I assume, is talking to lots of people about opportunities. The key is that if they work it out, will it work for Overland Park, and how does it work for Overland Park? I talk to lots of residents, Pete, in Overland Park on a regular basis, especially during this campaign. And the biggest concern that I hear is number one through 5 is traffic, right? How can we address the concern of traffic? And that would have to be addressed if Overland Park ended up being selected as one of the potential sites.
So I guess I just continue to think about, the planning and zoning part of this, which you're right to bring up. And I think, like you say, concerns a lot of residents in that part of Overland Park. And the idea that the teams and the state would come to the place, an agreement of this is where we want to be. And then the city would basically say, sorry, we don't want you because our residents are upset. seems like a total long shot, if not an impossibility. What at this point would get you to a place where you would say, you know what, I don't think this is going to work?
Well, Pete, we do this every day in Overland Park, right? We deal with development issues, north to south, east to west. And every project that we approve goes through a deep evaluation process to make sure that it works for our community. And that will happen with this as well. And at the end of the day, it will take a majority of vote of the city council to make that happen. So I was hoping that we would also talk about the election coming up, Pete, besides just the Royals' opportunity. And so would be happy to talk about
I'm happy
the election
to do that.
coming up as well.
I'm happy to do that. But at this point, I mean, listen, you've got to have an idea on where you're at with this thing. Are you a proponent? I know you prefer them downtown, but if the Royals say they want to be in Overland Park, is that something you would try to move forward on, or would you say, I don't think this is the place for them?
Yeah, we have multiple sites in Overland Park that could work for a stadium. So the key to understand is that a new modern baseball stadium is not Kauffman Stadium, right? It is not a 45 to 50,000 seat stadium surrounded by giant concrete parking lots, right? Where there's only two ways in and out, right? You either go to I-70 or you go to 435. I encourage people to go look at what modern baseball stadiums look like. That is not what they are, right? They're smaller today. They're surrounded by additional development that makes it more of an experience than just showing up at a baseball game. So we have places in Overland Park where it could work. We'll have to see what the proposal is, what it looks like. Does it work for the residents and the businesses of Overland Park? At the end of the day, that is the key question.
But there's only one part being talked about, right? And that's 119th and all, unless you want to break some news on this show and suggest there's another location getting interest from the Royals.
There are multiple locations in Overland Park where a baseball stadium would work.
Okay. And the 119th and all location, do you think that is a good place for Major League Baseball?
That's one of multiple sites that could work for baseball in Overland Park.
I understand that, but that's not what I asked. Is it a good place for baseball in your opinion?
That's my answer, Pete. Pete, I gave you the answer.
Okay. All right. So the answer is you don't want to answer the question. You don't want to answer the question, just so I'm clear.
No, Pete, I'm being very clear. You asked if that is a place where it could work, and I said there are multiple places where it could work. So I answered your question. And so would love to talk about the election coming up, Pete.
Yeah, I know. I just think that's a big part of people's decision-making in the election, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing Overland Park is. Unless there's something else you think Overland Park is facing that is bigger than the Royals, in which case I'd be happy to hear your answer to that. But I think that's top of mind right now, whether or not this community is a place where Major League Baseball fits. But what do you think the other thing is when it comes to issues in Overland Park that residents care a lot about that tie into next Tuesday?
Well, Pete, I talk to residents every day across the city, and Royal Stadium is not the top of mind issue. What they want to talk about is security. They want to talk about street maintenance. They want to talk about jobs. They want to talk about strong neighborhoods. That's what they're looking for. They want to talk about property taxes. They want to talk about everyday issues that affect residents in Overland Park. They want to talk about our high quality of life we have in Overland Park, and how can we make sure we maintain that into the future? How do we continue to build a city that our kids and grandkids want to stay in and not leave to go to Nashville or to go to Atlanta or go to Denver? Or if they've left, build a community that they want to come back to. And those are the topics I talk about every day to people across the city. You played somebody recorded one of my conversations with a men's group a couple weeks ago, and you picked out one section of that entire conversation. I talked for a half hour, and the vast majority of the questions were about the things I just mentioned. Mm-hmm. You played the one section that was about the Royals. That was a very short part of it. So Overland Park residents are looking to the future. How do we make sure that we keep this great quality of life, this great community moving forward. And that's what my campaign's all about, and what I'd love to dig into if you'd like to, Pete.
How do you continue to do that? And you and I have talked about this on many occasions, the balance of the future of Overland Park being about building single-family homes, which is what this community was built on, versus what it looks like when it comes to apartment complexes, and trying to be cognizant of that balance in the city at large. So what does the future look like on that front? I know that there are certain projects in town that people do not like. We've gotten a lot of feedback on the 135th and Antioch location that, I certainly have strong opinions on. I'm sure you feel differently on it. But how do you balance all that when it comes to what the future is for this city and this community?
Yeah, well, I think most people, when I talk to them, think we need to build more single-family homes, and we do, but they don't know that we have, in the last multiple years, we built between 300 and 400 single-family homes in Overland Park, right? Most people don't see them because they're on the southern fringe, because Overland Park has been growing to the south for 65 years. So we continue to build single-family homes. The new comprehensive plan that was just adopted unanimously by the City Council, called Framework OP, has a specific focus area of housing. And what the community told us, Pete, was that we need housing of all types and all price points. We need to, and thus includes for sale product, and we're very focused on that. We need to build housing that our police officers, our firefighters, and our teachers can live in, as well as housing for first-time home buyers, as well as empty nesters that are looking to downsize. And this comprehensive plan is giving us that direction. We've made some impact on that. We've got a lot of discussions going on, and we intend to make a bigger impact of building housing at all price points and all types.
What does it look? I was looking at this, and you can tell me if this is wrong data, but I did see data that suggested that Overland Park's population has been flat, if not slightly down, over the last half decade or so. What do you attribute that to?
Well, that is inaccurate information that you got there. We have grown 5,000 people just in this decade so far. So the census data was incorrect, and we appealed it, and they're in the process of updating it. Overland Park grows between 10 and 20,000 people a decade. If you go back to our incorporation in 1960, right? 1960, our population was approximately 40,000 people. And today we're around 205,000 people.
Okay, so that U.S. Census, the census data was inaccurate.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother story we can get into if you want.
Okay.
But, the census data, the first take on the census data was incorrect.
Okay.
And we've just won an appeal on that number. But Overland Park is continuing to be a dynamic place. Overland Park, the key to our success from our founding is strong neighborhoods, strong schools, and great jobs. Mm-hmm. And that is our continued recipe for success into the future.
Overland Park Mayor Curt Skoog is on KCMO. Well, Mr. Mayor, I do appreciate it. Listen, I've said it many times on this show. I think you're in a very good spot to be reelected. I predict it's going to happen. But I do think that some of these questions are obviously top of mind for folks in certain parts of town, given the fact that it's not just appealing to people in Overland Park, it's also appealing to people all over the metro as well. So that's why I think that issue may get more attention in my world maybe than your world. I'll just say that much. But you're in a good spot, and we'll see how it goes next Tuesday. And I'll let you give a pitch here to the folks in the next 60 seconds before we got to wrap it up.
Well, I'll take that as a partial endorsement, Pete. But
let's not get carried away, all right? Let's not get carried away. No. See, I will answer the question, no, I am not endorsing you. But I am also not endorsing your opponent. I'm also not endorsing your opponent, to be clear.
I understand. I'm just trying to make a little light of it.
Come on now. Come on. Now you got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
So just know, because I know that, we talked a lot about the Royals, that if the state would end up cutting a deal with the Royals, and if Overland Park ends up being one of the options, we will have lots of conversations. I'll be happy to come on the show again and have extensive conversations about the project. But encourage everybody to go vote. Early voting is open. We need people to turn out and vote. It's important that you exercise your right to make selections for the future. If you like Overland Park as it is today, I've been on the city council for 16 years, mayor is 4. We get rated one of the best places to live, work, play, start a business, start a family in the country. Last week, we were ranked the second safest city in the United States. If those are the kind of things that you think are important for Overland Park, oh, and by the way, we have the lowest property tax rate in the state of Kansas, nearly half of our neighboring communities when it comes to property tax. If those are important to you, I would ask for your vote as we go through this election cycle. Early voting is open. Election day is November 4th. Pete, I appreciate your inviting me on and having a great conversation.
Well, we will do it again. Good luck next Tuesday, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate your time on KCMO.
Thank you.
You bet. That is Curt Skoog on 95.7 FM. We are streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app.